for everyone that's come tonight. The purpose of this meeting is to discuss a tax abatement for the old Piggly Wiggly Shopping Center. And at this moment, I'll open up the floor to anyone that wants to speak on it.
Do we have any legal ramifications on this? Mr. Scott?
Maybe a couple. Yes, sir. In fact,
And can I say something before you get started?
please.
This is not a voting, we're not voting on anything tonight. This is just for public comment. And so at a later date, we will vote on this, but
This is not the hearing either.
No.
No.
Go ahead, Scott.
I had expressed some issues with Mayor Sherrill about some of the legal ramifications of doing the proposal that Action Properties have presented to us. And there's a long and winding road to where we get down to it, but y'all may or may not want to know the entire process, but basically, I believe that there's a provision under Amendment 772 which would allow us to go forward with this. We have our own amendment, Amendment 84, which we normally would have to fall under. Amendment 84 would not allow us to do this because of a Supreme Court opinion in 1982. And so we would not be able to do this under Amendment 84. So we would have to follow under Amendment 772, which is the amendment that the vast majority of these municipalities across the state that are doing these kind of rebates, that's what they fall under. And there's a couple of provisions in Amendment 772 which concern me, mainly saying that if we have a local constitutional amendment, then that's what we have to fall under. But then later in that act, it says that this amendment can be used as an alternative to it. So if we want to do this type of rebate program, which is what Action Properties has presented, I think we'd have to fall under Amendment 772, which is Section 94.01 of the Constitution. But I believe that once we did that, and once we did actual warrants to a developer, then we would need to get those warrants validated through a circuit court proceeding, basically getting the stamp of approval on those warrants. I've looked at the way a few other municipalities do it, and I think the approach from a city's standpoint, the best way to do this would not to be to do this for Action Properties, but to pass basically our own proposal for anyone to fall under. Some of these municipalities, they have their own ordinances that says we will give these benefits to any developer that comes in and that meets certain requirements. And maybe like $1 million capital improvement, 20 new employees, $500,000 capital improvement up to $1.5 million. And I've seen different numbers, but as long as they meet those standards, then they're able to get this tax incentive. And I've also seen where a city has done that for existing businesses. It says if you're an existing business and you meet certain requirements, you too can participate in a similar rebate program. And that would be, someone looking to expand their business, add new employees, those kind of things, that they could do that. I think the city would be better protected if we passed a general ordinance that allowed not just one particular developer to get these rebates, but allow any development group that meets the standards to obtain them. And I think there'd be the reason would be the furtherance of the retail development and create a new base in the city.
These people said that they had done this same thing in Jasper.
Yes, sir.
Did Jasper have an ordinance to that effect, I wonder?
Yes, sir. Jasper has an ordinance, and in fact, that's how all these retail businesses coming into Jasper now, they come under this ordinance. And Jasper requires you to have $1 million capital investment and then 20 new employees, and several other requirements as well. But those are two of the things. And if you put in $1 million, you're going to commit that there's going to be at least 20 new employees hired And we're not talking about people that just, take it from someone else and brought in the 20 actual new employees, then you're able to get that rebate program. And it's, I think, the same one that Action Properties presented to y'all, 30% for 5 years, 20% for the following 2 years.
Well, there's actually, corporate has said that they're gonna put in $1 million into it.
But this is what they told us, 20 employees, $1 million, and then it was 70-30, and then it was 20 for the 6th year, and for the 7th year, it was 10%, wasn't it? Wasn't that the way?
Up to 7 years. 30% for the first 5 years, and then,
Right.
it was 2 or 1 for the next.
Are there other
2 years.
ways that even under this, that we could help out in some kind of,
There are broad ways that the city can.
broad way?
Yeah, the city can help out. The city, you can obviously just agree to give a certain percentage, a certain amount of money to them. The city can look at waiving the fees and
That's
those
what-
kind of things as well.
Does anyone have any comments? Bill?
I really have different, I'm kind of divided on it. I don't know as much as y'all know about this and what I read in the paper and all, but, I know we need the new stores, new employees and all. But I look at the two last stores that came in down there. They didn't get any rebate at all. They came in and took care of it themselves and seemed to be doing good. And another thing too, I think some of the stores that comes in would take trade away from our already established stores. They might be smaller and they would suffer from that. Unless you look at it on the other side, we need progress. We need new stores. So I'm glad y'all helped make that decision.
Anyone else?
Well, first and foremost, I'm taking care of existing industry, existing businesses. That's been the foundation for where we are today. But at the same time, we've got to move forward, and so, yeah, it's tough. Let's see, business owners, well, have Richard here, he's a business owner. And I feel one way or the other, Richard.
I'm all for bringing business here, and I know that y'all talking about business gonna compete against mine. Hey, I'm ready for them. Only thing is I don't want to set a precedent where, if you gotta invest $1 million. We got small businesses that's got more employees than what this company's gonna bring in. Just like our taco place that opened, they've got 25 people hired over there right now. And if you're gonna come out here and help them, then let's help the people that's been here their whole lives and putting it into it. We need something that's gonna, but I'm all for bringing businesses here. Sure am. I just wanna be on an equal foot with them, I don't want where it's, just like they said in the paper that, we offset, these companies won't pay top dollar in rent, his exact words, in which, I don't know of any places that's lower than Hamilton, Alabama in rent probably in the overall picture, but, he says that, we need these tax abatements to offset rent, for people, they're in turn, they help do things for businesses to get them in here too. I just don't want us to be in a position where we're just helping the big guy and not doing anything, because I've been here 16 years and nobody's ever done anything for me on that, on that front, so. But, I'm all for, bringing stuff in. Let's just think about it and help the little man too while we're doing it.
What can we do?
Well, if it's gonna be open doors, if they're, I've been here 16 years paying rent and paying, I own my building just like they do. They do wanna do renovations, I think if you're gonna come in here and do this same thing for them, it needs to be equal to every business that wants to do that. If they wanna come, if we wanna fix up our stores, then, we should get tax abatement on that front, fix up ours,
As Richard said, that store, how long has that store been open, empty? 2 years, 3 years?
10 years?
Too long.
Well, I guess like what Richard's saying, that guy's been empty so long, that guy should be able to willing to lower his rent.
Exactly, that's their one rent lowered, you know, it seems like, I just believe that companies that wanna
I'm
come
not
into a
reckon I'm a
town,
business, but
come in town to do business, they're gonna do, if they wanna do business here, they're gonna do business here. I don't think this tax abatement's gonna affect them one way or the other. Now, it may, you know, I don't know their business, but, I just want things to be even, you know what I mean? Instead of setting some deal where they have to do, you know, so many millions and millions or this and that, you know, we've got small businesses out here who are struggling, and, you know, when you bring other things in, you let them have their tax money back, you know. Like I said, I could do a lot with my tax money back too, just like every other small business could, so.
Well, you said.
not like people breaking his door down to rent that building.
I was gonna ask, is it possible that is that set in stone that they want 30%, or, I mean, does that
No,
go?
that's just what they've asked, and that's what this meeting's for, is to get input from the citizens on how y'all feel about it. Like I said, we're not making a decision tonight, we just want input tonight.
No,
Is there
it's
any way
definitely
that you could-
negotiable. Pardon?
Is there any way that you could sort of estimate in dollars and cents? Or have they given projections about what they think that amount, 30% would be in a year's time?
They did, I don't know what it is.
Well, don't the city just get 3 cents out of every dollar? Ain't that right, Scott? We just get 3 cents out of every dollar. And if they get 30%, they'd just be getting 1 cent out of every dollar.
Well,
Or very close there.
and I probably shouldn't even quote this. This was just some notes that I took when I met with them. They had projected like for 5 years, if you recall, it's $5 million in 5 years, and at 30%, that'd be $150,000 in sales tax, something like that.
We went through this basic same thing with another development. Scotty abstained on it because of his conflict of interest when we was trying to get the other shopping center. You voted for it, McDavid, and against it, and the council voted it down. Scotty abstained on it, I remember that, because of conflict of interest with him. It was a new shopping center on the adjacent properties of Walmart, 11 and 12, 13-store development. But the council voted it down.
Marla?
Chamber doesn't actually have a set stance on this at this point. We're like y'all, we're still trying to gather information, and actually made some phone calls this afternoon to some of our fellow chambers that have dealt with this company. I want to sort of follow up with something that Scott mentioned, because I think it might touch base with what Richard said. If we had this ordinance that you were talking about that included not only new development or new business, new companies coming in, but the existing, is there some way we could do a tiering, like I say, maybe not where Richard may not want to invest $1 million, but if he invested $100,000, if we created our own ordinance, is that something that we could do, some type of tiering in our own ordinance for our existing businesses?
Right, we could create whatever we thought would work best. Yeah, and the new business would not have to mirror what you did for existing business.
Right.
And so you can make that difference.
Richard?
Then you run into the problem of everybody wants to do it, and can the city afford to do it?
That's right.
And I'm sure nobody can afford to do anything like that on, you know, that kind of.
But if you tier it though, that's the key. I mean, you know.
I don't understand what Richard's saying. If you tier, even any sort of tiering, and everyone decided to do it, then the
But
tax.
how many
rate-
people are gonna take and invest, say if you say it's a minimum of $100,000? I mean, you know, how many businesses in Hamilton at this point can afford to do
I
that?
could.
Well,
Yeah.
You know?
and the ideal, to protect you on that ground would be whatever that sales tax base already is, you would lock that in. It would only be on that new sales tax generated, basically the same thing that you would do for any new business. If they come in and they recruit a local business to go down there in their shopping center, and whatever that local business has been generated already, they would not get 30% of that, or whatever that percentage is. I think you'd want to do something like that on existing business as well.
I think they brought up something to that effect, that if it was existing business and they wanted to move down there, that, I can't remember what it was,
they did, let's see, where my notes are. New business, it would only commence from the new business they established.
Yeah, they would
From that
take, they would
point of
take
moving
what,
in?
they would,
I think they use Subway as an example.
the more that they took in is what they would get it out of.
Right.
They wouldn't count what they originally took in.
That's right.
Anyone else?
Just to follow up on April's question, as far as the chamber, like I say, we've not necessarily taken a vote on this issue, but, you know, we are definitely for progress and adding, you know, anything that is going to enhance our city, and especially we've got to, you know, look big picture, you know, by, you know, doing this renovation, and again, with what we have going on downtown, you know, in our opinion, it all goes into, you know, helping create a better environment to recruit some of these industries that we're trying to get into these parks out here. So, you know, sometimes we have to think big picture rather than just, you know, small or something immediately, you know, in front of us. We have to think long range.
Well, I've never heard so much excitement, especially since the paper came out, about getting more retail. You know, that's one of the biggest things that I hear out on the campaign trail is getting more retail and more industry, more jobs. But I don't want to get it, you know, to give them the farm, so to speak. You know, I want to do like Richard's saying. I want to be as fair as we can be. So maybe we need to focus our attention towards adopting
Well, everybody's talking about filling these
empty
empty places up.
places, and it is an
Right.
eyesore.
Richard, I can understand where it needs to be done. If another smaller businesses here in town wants to expand, that they should be given the same rates as they got.
Well, I'm kind of like Richard. We were employed 40-plus years. Never got a bit of help from anybody. We paid for the office out of our own blood, sweat, and tears.
Is it something of an apples and oranges thing though, because in terms of you take an individual business, such as Richard's, and you take a shopping center development where you're talking about several different spaces,
Right.
an entire facility like that, are they like two different planes, I'm wondering? Maybe not, but
That's been brought to me. Has it to the rest of you?
Well, Richard, you can look on the bright side. I mean, people I've talked to, you get a lot of free publicity out of this because your name always comes up. Look on the bright side. A lot of people talk about your business when
I'm
this comes
telling you,
up.
I am 100% for us bringing in stuff. I just don't, I want it to be equal though, you know what I mean? You know, it's companies, it's places gonna come up and compete with other businesses, you know, I don't want them to be getting, you know, the same, different breaks and what, you know, these other ones, and like you said, McDavid, about expanding businesses, you know. You know, I've been here 16 years, I don't see me expanding no more. I think I've done about as much as I can in Hamilton, you know, so it's like, you know, does that, I guess that's never gonna fall into any kind of tax help for me, see what I'm saying? There needs to be a way to, you know, if people wanna put into their business, you know, that they can get something back, you know?
Well, I kind of look at it like, if they come in to shop at your store, they're going to shop at other places perhaps, maybe get gas, although, you know, as high as it is, or eat, or go to other stores. And so I'm looking and thinking, well, if they shop down there, you know, I would think maybe that they might make the rounds. I don't know. I'm just
Yeah, more
thinking, the
businesses
more we
you
got,
got,
the
yeah.
more people we're going to have in, the more we're going to, you know, the more revenue that's going to come in to the whole city. And that's what we operate on, you know.
The way I kind of look at this is, it's kind of like, I mean, we're not giving specific tax breaks to any businesses. It's like we are giving a tax incentive to a developer to come in and fix up a building to possibly get businesses. Now, he's coming in and saying, I'm going to guarantee you, you're going to get 70% more income than you're getting now. And if we don't get it, we don't have to give anything. You know, so, and what, Hamilton doesn't have anything to offer that there's not millions of towns around here that can offer. You know, everybody's got rundown buildings and this and that. So, the way I'm kind of thinking, the feedback I'm getting is I don't, you know, I think it's a good thing to invest into something to get 70% of something we're not getting now. The only thing, on the opposition side is where you got the existing businesses. Now, that might be a whole nother ball of wax, something we need to look into that we can do on that end to boost because you can't compare the two, when you got a developer coming in and bring in multiple businesses, you can't compare that to small businesses. I mean, it would have to be two separate incentive things to do, but, I think this is just basically what towns are doing, to take that step to push and go. I mean, a developer can go anywhere, and anywhere's probably gonna give him 30% of, because if we don't get it, we don't get anything.
Well, in April, it might not be 30%, we might negotiate that down. Who knows? But the thing of it is look how it's gonna enhance that area. And you can't tell me that when people fly in with industry, they don't fly into the airport, they're gonna come right up through there, and they like to see activity.
And a good point that was made is that Tractor Supply didn't do anything, Aaron's didn't ask for anything. No, they didn't, but how bad do we want something? I mean, I guess that's what it was. How bad does Hamilton want a chance at retail? How bad do we want to offer a chance to bring somebody in to develop that building?
Well, what are we gonna do if we don't do this? What are we gonna do with that building? Does anybody have any suggestions? I'm open for anything. I mean,
Scotty, I think it's a win-win situation. If we, the town, we can satisfy our local businesses like Richard's saying, if they feel like they're being treated fairly, or I think it's a win-win situation if that can happen, because when you get 30% of something or 70% of something, that's 100% more than you have.
Of course, this is one of those situations where we're gonna have to make a decision one way or the other on this, but if we decide not to do it, it's not, they might still be coming, we don't know.
we don't know it.
So
Well,
we
there's
could
a
just-
sign down there now that says for rent or lease,
Yeah.
that it's got Action Properties in the front of the Food World building,
But my suggestion will be, if we vote on it, I don't know if it'll be the next meeting or a meeting in September, but my suggestion I'll make to Mayor Cheryl is we'll hold a work session before our meeting and talk about it beforehand. And then the public can come and see what we're talking about and we can decide then.
And
Like I said, I don't
the
know what meeting.
chamber, I think it would be really useful for the city to use the chamber in this, and y'all put your heads together, get with other chambers, see what's going on, see what these other towns that have started booming in retail, is this what they had to do to start it? I think from what I'm finding, calling and getting on the internet, that's what they're having to do.
The
But,
people that I have spoken with this afternoon, that's exactly what
I had
they're
to
doing.
do something.
Very
to get
similar to
started.
what's been proposed here. They basically told me that is pretty much normal operating procedure these days, because they said just as with industry and it being competitive with the different industrial parks, the same thing with retail these days. If we don't lock it in, then they're going down the road to the next person, and that was part of the presentation last week, was, they had looked at 2 other locations and besides Hamilton.
And when it boils down to it, if we're gonna get 70% of something we didn't have, that's gonna be income that we can put together a package to offer something for our small business. Now, to offer it now.
Scott, why don't you get a hold of Jasper and get their amendment and see what's on it?
He's got it.
You already got it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We can get some copies of that, study it.
Well, and Marlon, the point you're making is the chamber, what April suggested, and it's these entities coming together and working, and I think we can make this happen. And we just got to try to get in the right direction and not get the cart before the horse, and it may take a little while, it's a process,
And let's see, Scott, what other towns have done
Right.
as far as incentive-wise for small businesses.
Have you guys talked to the people that owns the shopping center?
Franklin Finance, and it has.
I mean,
Yes, she's talked with, I have not personally had any
Right.
meeting,
No, I didn't.
but she has.
Or
I know that
Richard,
for a fact.
if y'all, as business owners, want to get together and talk with other business owners in other towns and say, is there anything cities have done to offer incentive to smaller businesses for, something, to get us an idea, I mean, somewhere to get an
I
idea.
just think it needs to be open. You got anybody in here in town that opens up a store right down the road and they want incentives now, they need to be open to the same sort of thing, that if you're gonna give it to this company, give it to the small man too. He's out here, And I know people say, well, we're gonna hire 50 people and we're gonna bring all this money, but sometimes it never works out to be that same amount of that many
Right, and
people.
that's what they
You know,
said.
it's all blew up to be something great. Like I said, I'm still for it, I'm all for it. I just want the same things that you give them to be open to the small businessman too.
Now, they did just mention the 20 people. I've got a suggestion, Richard, why don't you move down there and then you get this tax incentive?
Yeah, I'd be out of business down there. I gotta stay around that courthouse where my traffic comes from.
At least you have some parking.
Yeah.
That is a point.
Anything else?
And anything else, anybody here, call us and tell us input, definitely for sure.
Council have anything else?
Well, it's just a community thing, it's a city thing, and I think, we definitely need, everybody's input. No way to please everybody, but we're gonna do the best we can.
This is not pertaining to that, but we voted to, or some of us voted to get that, those ordinances, that people to put our ordinance, mini ordinances or something.
Mini
They start- mini code. Have they started on that?
You know,
yet?
they're working on it.
Another group that you might want to consider besides the chamber would be Kimmy's group, the Downtown Hamilton Association. You know, cause not everybody overlaps between the chamber and the Downtown Hamilton Association. You've got different people involved and, you know, perhaps, you know, some questions out from both organizations to its members and those that want to participate and give feedback.
You're talking about the beautification committee, the revitalization committee,
Downtown Hamilton.
and the downtown Hamilton,
And this is not a rush. I mean, this is not something we have to do the next meeting. We need to make sure we cover all our bases, and we've got time to discuss this, so we're not gonna rush into making a decision.
Need to get feedback, is what the code.
Should be pretty easy to find out. Didn't you, one of you guys say that Jasper did, they did this in Jasper, the same company? Should be relatively easy to find out how much per square foot they paying in Jasper.
Oh, yeah, we.
Be a guideline for you
Done
to look
look
at.
that. And you can go on their website and look up the houses. They've got businesses all over Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee,
Yeah, we
Louisiana.
can find that out.
Yeah, and Jasper did offer all this thing.
Because the same situation, Jasper, those abandoned buildings where the old bitty store
Right.
was.
And they said right up front that they were going after old Kmart buildings, old Food World buildings, old whatever, just like we've got here, and that's what they're capitalizing on.
If I can say something as a citizen and a home buyer, not the police chief, the new source of revenue that this creates for the city will be, some of that will be dedicated towards capital improvements. Some of the capital
Absolutely.
improvements can be sensitive to the needs of the existing business owners, especially downtown. So, you know, maybe if there's some oversight that keeps it where it gives them some advantage to what the city's getting through this project, it may be more agreeable